What is up, everybody? We are here with our first post-game episode of the 2025 season. Lions Falcons preseason week 1. I guess it's officially a Lions win 17-10, 1-1 now in the preseason, but okay, they kind of just finally ended it. This game ended shortly. If you didn't see it, or if you're just now tuning in, wondering why it's so quickly here, they ended the game. Basically, we didn't play a fourth quarter. Mo Norris had a super serious injury, and as soon as you see that, you're like, maybe they don't need to play anymore here, and they just decided to snap the ball and not do anything. So they ran it down to about 6 minutes left, and now they're walking off the field officially. So essentially, just no fourth quarter. It definitely stinks for some of the guys trying to earn spots here, but it's also the first preseason game basically for everybody. You got two more preseason games. You can wait longer before you cut players. It wasn't a must that the Lions played that out. So I actually I'm happy with the decision that they made to just end that game. I think it's only the right thing to do there with how significant that is, understanding it's a preseason game. We don't need to just stand out here, especially after that kind of injury, and continue to try to play after that. It's not necessary. So I'm glad they ended that. We'll talk about this though. We'll do our takeaways from this one, and hopefully Mo Norris is all right. Significant. I didn't actually see what happened. I guess they said he got hit in the head, but he was down for a while. It was like 3 or 4 commercial breaks. The safety was down. It's the worst part, man. We had dudes getting banged up. I mean, the guy got banged up before it started. Justin Heron got injured before it started, before the game began. You had Tristan Colon get banged up in this game, and he didn't come back on after that, I believe. And that's concerning because I think he could be a very important part to this team this year. And then, of course, that kind of injury towards the end. We're already kind of moving around guys in the back end. So, yeah, from injury perspective, it's awful, and it's the worst part of the preseason. So there's that element of it. That said, though, we're going to go through these takeaways. We're going to talk about this game. There's a lot of things to talk about. And we'll start off right from the beginning because Hendon Hooker got the start for the Lions in this one. Hendon Hooker got the start after last week. And look, last week, it wasn't a great game. There were opportunities that he left out there, but there was also one that was left out there by his teammate and Tess in Lovett on the big shot play towards the end. But I thought he showed like, okay, he's seeing the field relatively well. He felt a little bit impatient when a play broke down. I wanted to see that improve. The accuracy still like intermediate, kind of hit and miss. But I thought the big thing was that he was getting us into the right looks. You saw the coverage defensively, and Hendon Hooker seemingly had a good response to that. Seemingly had us in a play that had potential a lot of the times. And I think actually he saw the field pretty well, even when we didn't convert. I thought he was feeling the field pretty darn well last week. So this week he gets the nod. And unfortunately, we just had 2 big fumbles in there. That's really what it was. It was a story of 2 fumbles, which are going to lead the way. But we'll start on the defense side of the ball because it was the front 7 that really played well from jump. And they got after it. Like they got after Atlanta from jump. And it started off with Tyleik Williams, who got his first look as a Lion. And that's the big positive for this one, clearly. The big positive is the start that we got from Tyleik Williams and Tate Ratledge, 2 guys that I thought played well. I think Tyleik specifically against the run looked dominant. Not as much juice as a pass rusher, which was kind of anticipated. And Tate Ratledge, I think a majority of his reps look really strong as well. Biggest thing was creating movement, early anchors, early latch, maybe getting moved around a little bit. Some of the body control getting bounced around. Again, things that were expected, but for the most part, most of his reps look good. So that first drive we get out there and the defense was getting after it. I think it was the second string offensive line as well for Atlanta. But our second string defensive line looks strong. El Kwani Muhammad had a pressure early. Nate Lynn had a pressure on the very next play, winning towards the inside. Then he followed that up eventually with a sack. El Kwani Muhammad did. So we went 3 straight plays with Muhammad, Lynn, Muhammad making plays. Muhammad chasing him down, tripping him up, loss of 2 yards. Fantastic beginning for the defensive line. In the first play of the game, it was a 1-yard run. Trevor Nowaski got in with Zach Cunningham. After that, Zach Cunningham stuffs the run for no gain. Tyleik Williams takes on a double team, handles the double team. Offensive lineman can't get up to the next level and pick up the backer, so he steps down, makes the stop. So we got off to that kind of start defensively, and then it was a shot play. Boodles getting those high reps, and it was incomplete. You got Kennelly working over top, showing that kind of range, and Lynn getting more pressure. So the first drive defensively from the second string defensive line was fantastic. Like this is exactly what you were hoping for from the second string defensive line. And I'll say this. Early kind of thought, like Ian Kennelly, I thought played well last week. I thought he played well. There were some things in coverage I want to see improve, but he showed range. He was an elite run defender, I would say. To me, he looked like just an extension of a linebacker in that game, but he has good movement skills. He is getting those first team, or not first team, but he was getting the top reps at safety in this game. I think, unfortunately, especially with the Mo Norris injury, I think he set himself up now 2 games in. We got 2 more to go, and we got some joint practice. We got a little way to go here. 2 games in, I feel pretty optimistic that he's going to find himself on this roster. Like, I think he's put himself in a really good spot. It's such an open position battle. Avonte Maddox is playing everywhere for us. He's playing the nickel. He's playing safety. But as for Ian Kennelly, I think he's set himself up to make this team. And that's how the first drive got started. But offensively, it was just a story of, one, we had some issues in pass protection. I thought KO seemingly got off to a pretty rough start. Mason Miller had a pretty shaky day, though it seemed like he settled in towards the end, probably when some of the rosters started to change. But towards the end of that game, seemed like we were able to create some real movement. We had a drive with Jacob Sailors that we were just dominant on the ground. So towards the end, we got it going, but early it was rough. And it started off just like that. You know, we had a little 1 yard flat pass to get things started. Then we had a boot play, pressures in his face, throws it incomplete, and then KO ends up, losing his block. Hooker tries to make something out of it, fumbles, and that's where things really got started there. So it's kind of a rough beginning for our offense as well. We had some things underneath, no real consistency there. It was clear when we were able to run the ball, things were able to open up. We didn't consistently run the ball at the beginning of this game. But once that started to connect, we really started to have success offensively. It's just that hasn't been as consistent. And the big thing was there, I thought Yodi lost plenty of blocks early in this game, which was a big problem. But you put the defense back on the field, and again, Tyleek was super noticeable. The first play, he's in the backfield, forces a cutback run. Very next play, they run his way. This was called holding. Al-Quadi Muhammad ended up giving up the edge, but he was also drew a holding call. So it pulled him back. It became 2nd and 17. So defense did their thing there, but it was Tyleek Williams. He ran over the right guard. I think he ran directly over the right guard. So immediately you felt a lot of Tyleek Williams are backed up. Now they check it down, and Rocky Sin's there on a little drag route. We didn't get as much heat that time. These next 2 plays were a little bit disappointing because they were obvious pass downs. I didn't feel like we got a lot of pressure on these 2 plays. Again, I didn't feel a lot of that from Tyleek. We saw some stunt work, but I didn't feel a ton of it, which is expected. The edges didn't seemingly come through a ton on these next 2 plays, and then they did a little check down underneath, and Lynn had a little bit maybe of heat. He tried to go to a little bit of a bull rush, had a little bit of something there. He just doesn't show a ton of power in his game. So forced a couple check downs, got off the field. Ultimately, started with the run defense. I mean, really in the preseason, if there's one thing that I could say 2 games in, it starts with, can you run the ball and can you stop the run? If you do those 2 things, everything kind of comes together. I guess that's the case in any case of football, but that has really been the story through 2 preseason games. Also, I made a note, kickoff return. Anthony Pittman, man, that dude is a problem on kickoff return. We also saw Rocky Sin doing some work there, but Anthony Pittman is a monster. I think he's helping himself because of what he is on special teams and his value and what value they put in him on special teams. I'm very curious to see how that plays out, because that is a very strong part of his game that's going to carry a lot of weight. But again, we get back on offense, and there's just no early down efficiency. We got a 1-yard run working behind KO. Then we throw a screen pass, 0 yards. Like that, now it's 3rd and 9. That's how our drives began. Now, we were able to get out of this because Hooker had his best play of the game. 3rd and long, scrambles, picks up 24, somewhere around there, yards. This was fantastic pass protection across the board. So Tate latched his own there. Cologne did a pretty nice job. And you ended up giving him a ton of time. And as these routes got vertical, nobody was underneath, and he took off and picked up 25 yards, 24 yards on the play. That opened up our offense and got us going. But unfortunately, again, just not taking advantage of the opportunity here, because we go to that wheel route to Craig, and they call a pass interference on the offense, even though Craig got smashed. They called a pass interference, which was a bad call. That should have been a positive gain anyway. Then you had a good run. You run behind Tate Ratledge. He's pushing his guy out of the play 6 yards. It's 3rd and 4. It's manageable. So, again, the run game made it possible. And once it became manageable, it's 3rd and 4. We got Meeks over the middle. This was a really good look for Hendon Hooker, right? He fit it between 2 defenders, and he drops it. And it's like, man, we're leaving things on the table. So clearly we were able to get the run game going. It changed everything. But that was one where we just left it out there. They did. They ended the game with 14 minutes, essentially. So Mo Norris got hurt to start the 4th quarter. Very significant injury. They went about 3 commercial breaks, 3+ commercial breaks, him just laying down in the field. saying it's a neck injury. So I didn't actually see it. They didn't show it. He's laying down. They bring out the stretcher. They bring out the EMS, and he's on that. And instead of going back and playing again, they just decided to essentially end the game, which I'm in favor of. I'm in favor of just ending that game. Like, we're sitting there, and it's just like, I don't see why you wouldn't just end this. In the first preseason game, we don't need to continue playing this game. We've also had an extra preseason game. Like, there's no need to do this. So they decided to end it. And they did it kind of weird at first. Like, they took the snap, Atlanta did, and just stood there with the football so the time would just run. But about 6 minutes in, they're just like, we're just done. We're not going to keep waiting here. So they just ended the game officially. So yeah, they just ended the game early, which I was in favor of. Again, some of those guys, yeah, they want to get those reps and stuff like that. But ultimately, between practice and the joint practices and an extra preseason game, like, we're going to have more than enough looks at these guys. That significant of injury. I really appreciate the fact that it just ended the game. Like, it was bigger than that. Like the game is not bigger than what just happened. A regular season, obviously, they're going to have to keep playing playoffs, that kind of thing. But in that moment, it's like, we don't need to do this. We've already played 3 quarters. Let's just shut this thing down. So they ultimately just shut it down. But that was a tough way, man. Like it's just leaving some plays out there, Meeks with the drop. So our offense just sputtered early. But again, defensively did a lot of good things, especially this first few drives. I mean, we're walking through this. Stewart shuts down the cross play. Then they take a shot to Stewart. He's in good coverage, good phase there, incomplete over top, gets his hand in the cookie jar, and then they throw a little pass underneath. Devontae Max covers it up well, and they're punting. So 3 and out. That's the start they get off to. Now, special teams had some mishaps, flags. Boodle and Gilbert were called for some penalties on the punt team. Again, we get back out there, and we had a couple of those. Like, we had a couple of those flags. But offensively, it was the inability to run the ball, which was a problem. A negative 3-yard run to get things started. We go to a lead run. We gain a yard. Both those plays I had KO'd with missed blocks. Both of those plays. Like, so KO'd had a really rough beginning in this one, a rough patch. So you get a -3 run, and that was behind tape, but KO lost his block, and then you run again, you get a yard. Now it's 3rd and 12. So you can see the common theme with a lot of these early drives were very similar across the board. You had some blown blocks in the interior. You had very poor running for the most part, outside of like a 6-yard run. You're putting yourself behind the chains, and then when you have opportunities, you're not connecting on those opportunities. We're in a spot now where it's 3rd down and long, and we just have to check it out. Now, I don't know what it looked like downfield. He had a little bit of time here. Cologne picked up the pass rush seemingly pretty well, created a little bit of an anchor for us there, and we ended up just checking the ball down. I don't know if there was something else downfield. I'm going to assume there wasn't, but there could have been there. It's just, again, you're in 3rd and 12, so we check it out. We get 4 yards, and we're punting again. And that's just how the beginning of this game began, just leaving opportunities and not being efficient on the ground was a problem. Well, like I said, once that opened up, we became very efficient on the ground. And really the big thing is on top of this, even though we weren't super efficient early, we still had opportunities. If Meeks catches that pass over the middle, right, you have something there, right? Or the and through the PPI and everything like that. So you have something there, and that's what Kyle Allen was able to open up with his one big shot play down the field. He was able to open that up. But defensively, off to a fantastic start. I mean, Whiteside does a good job, and Whiteside's a sleeper, right? Like I said, Ian Kennelly right now, very, very, very confident he's going to make this 53-man roster. I mean, I feel very confident thinking that. Whiteside's getting some good reps in there. I want to watch this one back. He gives up, a 3-yard flat play, covers that well, a 3-yard run. And then on 3rd down and medium, Nate Lynn with more pressure. They go over the middle. Nick Whiteside's in coverage. I thought he was going to pick it watching it live. It really wasn't that close. Receiver kind of just went through his hands. But he was in phase, contested it, incomplete. And that's like the 5th time I've mentioned Nate Lynn. Just looking back at my notes here, he was involved a ton as just a true pressure piece. You don't get a lot of speed to power, but he was involved a ton in those spots. But ultimately, yeah, a lot of good for the defense early. Nick Whiteside, maybe someone to keep an eye on. Where he's getting the reps at as well, definitely someone to keep an eye on. Continuing on from there, let's go back. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball here, because now is when, like mentioned, the offense got going, and it had to get going from somewhere. It got going through the run game. Now, I do wonder when I'm looking at this, if it was they started to take starters out of the game defensively. We had the same kind of lineup at this point. I don't know if they started pulling back on starters or not, because I had heard that they were going to play their early picks. I don't know that they did or not, to be honest with you. I'll have to watch it back and see. But I'll tell you, this is what got it going. We had a 7-yard zone run. We had a 5-yard run. Tate Ratledge ended up just driving his player like 4 yards completely out of the play, which was nice, created some movement. A 2-yard run on top of that. That's when the drive got rolling. And then we're passing from efficient situations. We end up hitting a deep curl to Meeks, so he bounces back. We had a nice little window there. Probably the best completed throw, honestly, on the day for Hendon Hooker, right? Right up the numbers, little deep curl route there. And then we end up running the bubble screen, which has been a new implementation of the Lions this year. I'm going to say, like, it's not a crazy play, all right? Bubble screen's very straightforward, but that, like, read option bubble is something that I've seen them start doing in training camp. I don't remember us doing that much in the past at all. And with that picked up 15 yards for us. Tesla laid an excellent block, and I believe it was Tom Kennedy that came wrapping around it, picked up about 15 yards. That got us going. You go back to the ground game, pick up 2. You get the boot play, pick up 2 yards of Shane Zilser. It's a good catch underneath, and then the scramble. And again, this is the issue with Hendon. It's just like, yo, keep your eyes down the field, look to throw the ball. He ends up trying to scramble out of a pocket where if he keeps his eyes on the field, maybe somebody breaks open late. He did good moving out of the pocket, right? Again, Tristan Colon got hurt here. That's another one of the injuries. So I'm hoping he's okay because I think him working backup center or as the first string center in this game, he's huge part of this team. And I think he's in a spot to make the team this year. So I'm hoping Tristan Colon is not serious there. But you break out of the pocket, doesn't really keep his eyes downfield. He takes off, gets 2 yards when maybe he had something much more on the plate, on the table there. And that's when the Lions decided to go for it. Now, credit to them, they picked it up. And it was on time. Tesla did his thing. Like, when they needed it, they got it from Tesla. Your quick slant underneath, picked up the first down. And then we did the little pitch play, picked up a couple yards. And that's when we had the fumble inside the 20. So, again, just missed opportunities, whether it's the drop, whether it, just across the board, we're just leaving opportunities out there. And the worst thing is, again, this isn't the worst play in the world if he doesn't fumble, right? Because Mason Miller gets beat quickly. If he doesn't fumble this and we get a field goal out of this, at least we're getting points. We got down the field. It was an efficient drive, but that's not what happened. Mason Miller gets beat on his block quickly. Hooker takes the sack, which happened fast. I don't hate him for that. It's just the fact that then he fumbled, which was the problem. And that fumble gave them the ball back. We still have no points. And that's how this game is going to be remembered, unfortunately, for Hendon Hooker. But as mentioned, the defense was doing their thing. We're not like 5 drives in. I'm saying a lot of good about the defense early. Trevor Nowatzki shuts down a run, loss of 2. And at this point, we started pulling in new guys. So here comes Broderick Martin. Broderick Martin flashes a little bit. They run this like slot corner route. You got good coverage from Maddox. You got over the top. Rocky Sin's in a pretty good spot. It's incomplete. Then Broderick Martin shows some flash, right? Broderick Martin blows up a run from behind. He's on the backside of his own play. He gets upfield. Achman gets in, tackle for loss. Now we end up giving up a big play before that where Broderick had a little bit of a push, a deep crosser behind Grant Stewart in zone coverage, but he shuts down the run, gets him behind the chains. They end up picking up about 10 yards on the next play. Trevor Nowatzki, just a little out route, gets the stop there. But this is where it's that, third and short situation, and they bring Rocky Sin. They blitz everybody. Rocky Sin steps down. He shuts it down, makes a great tackle, gets a yard. Lions are getting off the field. I think they kicked a super long field goal here. But so, again, situationally good, and the Lions were very straightforward situationally. It was like, we're going to man blitz. We're going to be very straightforward. You got your matchup. Somebody get after the quarterback. And interestingly enough, looking back at it, like, you started to see a little bit different personnel when he started to do that as well. Like early, Nate Lynn and that grouping of Nate Lynn and Tyler Williams, those guys are getting a little bit of heat. Maybe not as much now, but you just got really aggressive in what they were doing stylistically. That puts the offense back on the field. Colby got banged up, and this is one of the injuries I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to figure this one out. I don't know how serious this is. I don't know that I don't think he came back into the game, to be honest with you. Not after this drive. I think he played this drive and then came back out. I'm not even sure. I don't know. But this is when Kyle Allen comes in after the unfortunate fumble. They pull him. I don't know if they would have brought him back in or not, but you could look at it as they took him out early. However you want to look at it because of the 2 fumbles. And what made it happen was the deep shot play, right? Because you get downhill, you get a little gain. It's a 3rd down and 5, and you hit this deep post to Meeks. Runs this skinny post on the outside, no safety help over top, and you're able to just get that inside leverage on the safety, take a deep shot. Does a really nice job getting that throw off, and believe he had pressure on his blind side. I mean, it's in a great spot. Big, deep shot down the field. And that's what set us up this drive. But again, we had more success running it. Then he had a little scramble. Kyle Allen just looked natural. He looked poised, gets a little scramble, kind of wraps around the defense, picks up 8 yards. We run the ball, get none. And then we end up scoring the touchdown on the 3rd down. And that was just like, hey, Tesla, go get it. Again, we need it. He had the underneath route on a 3rd down, 1st down. This time we run him on a fade, touchdown. We get him on this little fade route, set up kind of the little like pick play underneath, wrap him around. Ball's high, goes up, attacks it, pulls it down, touchdown. And that's how the Lions finally got their offense going. But it wasn't like they couldn't get their offense going. They just needed to be more efficient on early downs, and they finally got a shot play, which was the big thing. Defense gets back out there, and this is when the defense kind of finally like let up a little bit. again, we're working through more of the depth here, and this was really all in coverage, right? And out for Boodle. Boodle gives up this deep reception down the sideline. He's contesting it well, but he gives up this deep reception on the sideline. Ahmed saves the day. Probably his play of the game, outside of a little bit of an inside pressure, was they set up a screen. He's tracking this thing down from behind. Hallett gives up a slant, then Hallett gets called for a PI in the end zone. It's still a touchdown. Hallett didn't have his best stretch at wide corner. It wasn't great in coverage today. It wasn't great. And they gave him some wide corner looks. It wasn't great. We're thin there. They wanted to bounce him out there, get another look at it. And I don't hate it because I think if anything, it's an opportunity. And I think they probably liked what he did at slot. I think they like Hallett, and they're like, well, let's just see. And they did this in practice, but not a great stretch there for Eric Hallett. And it really was all coverage. It really was all coverage before half. That happened. And then we end up going into halftime, giving up a sack. And Kyle Allen actually fumbled too, but Kyle Allen got back on the ball. So I don't even think it was a sack. I think he just dropped the ball and it went to halftime. Now, second half, and now we're riding with Kyle Allen. And, we're taking, kind of some of the top guys are out. Welcome in Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell starts being an impact player. Like some of the routes that he was running last week felt weird. It was like, I don't know if we're even trying to get him the ball here. But today he got rolling, right? And he start with a good run. And then you have kind of a missed block, and it's a third and medium, so at least it's manageable. And this was a really good ball. This is one where roughing the passer call, Kyle Allen gets hit in the helmet. He finds this drag round underneath, puts a really good pass. This is one of the best passes of the day, maybe the best, because the pressure, the situation, the ball placement, catch and run opportunity. Ronnie Bell gets the field, stays in bounds, first down. Fantastic play. Manu, I thought, was much more shaky in this game from live watch. Gave up a soft edge, I thought, a lot in this game. Kind of got punched, got pushed back into the pocket, got collapsed on a little bit. And that's something that he's going to have to deal with against guys that can really fly off the ball. He didn't get tested as much with that last week. That's something that clearly needs work. He gave up a soft edge there, let him get to the quarterback and hit him in the head. We go to Jacob Sailors now. He had a little bit of success, not here, but he eventually did. Short run, little scramble, and then we tried to take a shot down the sideline. I believe to Malik Taylor, but he wasn't open at all, and that's when we sent out the field goal unit. So again, third and long, not much success. You take a shot, no one really wins there, and it really wasn't catchable either. But Bates knocks it in from 60. Bates knocks it. So we don't get to see much of the starters, but we do get to see Jake Bates, and he put that thing through from 60, right down the middle, hit the back net. Like that kick was nuts. That made me excited. Like I wanted to see that. I wanted to see Bates take a long field goal. Man, that looked good. Little 60 piece. Oh, my goodness. Now, we're indoors, but hey, in Atlanta, come on now. Again, defensively, we're kind of back to the same thing a little bit. Coverage started to let up a little bit. Hallett made a good run stop, then gave up the completion on the outside. Then they ran that kind of just zone read, and Ugu dives down. If he's supposed to crash, someone's got to be out there to be a force player. We didn't have a force player seemingly at all. Then Hallett gets beat by Nick Nash. He had some success. Achman had a little bit of pressure for us to throw away. And then that's when it really came back in, right? So you can see pass coverage was giving us some issues. Then Ahmed got some heat, good coverage, I think, across the board, thrown away. Lynn gets a stack. He has a nice stab on the inside, and it was pretty horrible offensive tackle play. It looked like, but stabbed him on the inside, got outside, got the sack. Nate Lynn had a good day. That's like 6 times I've mentioned him. And that was set up the really third and long, and they run like a little screen. Lauren Strickland makes a pretty key stop, and the Lions get off the field right there. So pressure came through much more today, and it was mainly Al-Quadi Muhammad early a lot, and then it was Nate Lynn as the game rolled along. And then again, the offense just found more consistency. 5 yards, screen to Sailor, a negative run, which sorry, that was the wrong play. Here we go. Sailor's big run. This drive, the Lions run game got it going. Like eventually they started to open up this drive. For whatever reason, they found a lot of success. Kingsley at right guard. I think Kingsley might be better at right guard. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like with the injuries that we have, I think Kingsley might just be a guard. It seemed like he had some success watching it live. I'm going to have to see it back, but it seems like he kind of works there. You got 5 yards, you get a screen for a first down, you get a big run, you kind of work behind Nitain Mutai, who clears it out. You get downhill behind Kingsley, Michael Neese. He might be better at guard. That pops for a big run. You go like a little pull play, pick up 6 more yards, a little gap scheme. And then again, once you're doing that, now we're efficient. Deep curl to Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell gets open, and he's got good hands, so that doesn't surprise me at all. 0-yard run, but then a screen again to Sailors. He had an ugly run, I thought, towards the goal line. We were inside the 10. He kind of just ran into the line of scrimmage. I didn't think he had great vision there. I thought he just kind of ran to the line. Did it bounce out when he had a chance? But then we went right back to him, and Sailors picks up the first down. We got downhill, got a good push, got behind Kingsley Egucon, picks up the first down, and then Meek scores his touchdown. I mean, that drive, it was essentially no drop back passing. It was a screen. It was a downhill run. It was a lot of runs. It was one deep curl. screen, and then the out route. Like, that was it. We didn't really even throw the ball. There was like no drop back passing there at all. So shout out the O-line for starting to kind of open it up for us a little bit. And then ultimately that's when they eventually ended the game because of the first down play. Broderick got a little bit of heat. I would have liked to see more Broderick Martin. That's the one thing that does stink about this. But then you had the Mo Norris injury on a nice little run there. So that's what eventually ended this game was that injury. So I'll say, look, I think Ian Kennelly's in a good spot. I think he's helped himself a lot. I think he's given himself a good shot to make this team. So that's the first good positive. Nate Lynn helped himself a ton. Nate Lynn got back much closer to what I thought that he looked like last year in the preseason. It's just for him. I would like to see him add a little more power element to his game. He clearly has the speed element, though, as a rusher. He got back to, I thought, what he looked like last year after flashing in their first game. He set himself, I think, up really well. Zach Cunningham looks strong. He looks like a starter. I think he could be a starter for us. He looks strong. Nite, it seemed like at left tackle, Giovanni Manu was a little bit more inconsistent today, specifically. Mason Miller seemed to struggle towards the end. Until towards the end, we were able to just get downhill with him. But in pass protection, he's had some issues there. But Giovanni Manu just being too soft on the edge, right? You don't have too much of a soft edge, getting collapsed back in the pocket, not keeping that wide horseshoe, I think is the big problem for him. So that was something that wasn't fantastic in this game. Tesla continues to be money. Really, anytime you throw it to him, good things happen. It's kind of what it feels like. Good things happen whenever you throw it to him. So that's positive. Tristan Colon, hopefully he's okay. Same thing with Colby Sorrell. I would have liked to see more of that. Broderick Martin, to me, has to be the biggest, like, outside of Kennelly, like, trending up stock-wise. Because Broderick Martin, yeah, he's in a tough spot coming in. He played 12 snaps last week. I thought he looked fine on the 12. So it was like, why is he not? I think it was 12 snaps. Like, why do you even play 12 snaps? Well, this game, when he had his run, he did some things. And he looked more athletic. He looked more explosive. He was creating some knockbacks. So credit to him. The 2 draft picks look strong in this one. I think the draft picks all look pretty good again. But the 2 top draft picks look really strong, specifically Tyleek. Tate looked pretty darn good as well. So both those guys, I think, handled their own, did what you were hoping. Pass pro, we'll see. I want to watch some of it back with Tate, but the run blocking for the most part was pretty good. There's a couple that weren't dominant, but for the most part, it was pretty good. But Tyleek was very impactful against the run, just not as impactful as a pass rusher. Again, as expected, that's kind of what I thought coming in. I was hoping for a little bit more juice as a rusher against a backup offensive lineman, but for the most part, he did his job and what you would have kind of expected from him. So those are the guys that really stood out early from this. We did just get an update from Tom Pelissero saying that Mo Norris has been transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. So he was taken off on the ambulance, had the neck injury, is what they're saying, and he's officially been transported to the local hospital. So prayers up for Mo Norris. Hopefully he is okay. Scary, man. Those are scary, and I'm glad they shut the game down. You didn't need to keep playing that game, right? Like, it's bigger than football right now. So I'm glad that they ended that one. Final, I guess, will be 17-10. I don't know how they're going to score. It doesn't matter. The reality is this was a plus, I think, in a lot of ways because we created better movement. There were some players I don't think performed as well as the first game, like Giovanni. Hendon Hooker felt very similar, which is kind of a problem. I think he's seeing the field better, but there's still a lot of things that are kind of similar. Kyle Allen obviously had a really good bounce back game. A lot of it was efficient running, and that supported him much better because there was sufficient running. We didn't really have efficient running at all outside of a couple of plays with Hendon. So that is sometimes how it goes, right? He was put in more of those situations, but Kyle Allen did take advantage of the opportunity, and he made some big-time throws. Like, Kyle definitely looked like the guy tonight. So shout out to him for getting that because really it's not that he played bad in his first game. He had 2 bad picks. Yes, one was baited really well. The other one he probably shouldn't have thrown on the out route, but this was a really good game. I think Kyle Allen's in good graces for me so far. 2 games in, I feel pretty good about Kyle Allen. That's where I'm at. So Achman wasn't down. It made a couple good plays, made a run stop in there with Broderick. Got out on the screen. He actually, to me, shined the most because he got a little bit of heat. He got a little bit of pressure. But again, Nate Lynn's stock is probably flying up the most after this game. So with that, I guess we'll leave it there. Our first post-game show, man, we are back. It's good to be back. Shout out to everybody tuning in. We will be here every post-game this season. So preseason, regular season, make sure you're tuning in to that over here on Bleacher Report. As TD would say, let your friends and family know. And we will be back soon. All week long, I know I'm posting like short episodes. So definitely check those out. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you're thinking, what we need to talk about, what we need to be talking about, trying to keep it relevant. But every day, man, every day through the week. So hopefully you're enjoying those. With that being said, I appreciate y'all joining. Prayers up for Mo Norris. Hopefully he's okay. we'll keep an eye on Colby Sorstel and Tristan Colon and Justin Heron, these guys that were banged up today, and hopefully we walk out and we're okay. But I'm gonna end it there. Lions Falcons, we're out. Have a great night, and I'll see y'all soon, man. 2 more preseason games to go before the real one.